The greatest thing we learned yesterday is that the words of men are empowered. There is something called an empowered life. You heard some times ago that women were going for empowerment in Beijing. And when they came back, many homes were broken. The breakup was as a result of empowerment. So you can't deal with an empowered world if you're not empowered. Jesus didn't want the disciples to go out there and face a world that is empowered without them being empowered. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 1, verse number 8, he therefore told them, don't just go out there. Don't just begin business. Don't just get into marriage. There are things that slap people, not before they are married, after they are married. I shared with you the guy we prayed with that used to get slaps in the night. One night he was slapped that when he woke up, he descended on the wife with kicks and blows. Asking the wife, why do you slap me like that? The wife said, I didn't slap you. Jesus said, and you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be my witnesses. I don't want you to go and be storytellers. I want you to go and say what you saw and what you experienced. In Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria, and to the end of the earth, but you shall receive power. Somebody say power. I didn't hear you. Say again power. Now, to empower means to receive power. Acts chapter 1, around verse number 3, if I didn't miss it, look at it. Look at what Jesus, or you can as well put there, tarry ye in Jerusalem until you be endued with power from on high. Go and stay there. Go and wait there. Go and live there. Go and give yourself to this lifestyle until you be endued, until you be enveloped, until something covers your life, until it is no longer you. Did you hear Paul say, it is no longer me that live. The life that I now live. You can't impact a world that is dark without a covering on your life. I'm telling you, this is very serious. You can't make waves in a world that is dark if you don't have something that is bigger than what they have. Look at this. So we said yesterday that words are empowered. When a man tells you you will see, then you begin to somersault in the dream at night. His words were empowered. When a man looks at a pregnant woman and says, that thing you are carrying there, we will see. I prayed for a woman that was pregnant for over 2 years in a crusade. And it is good to know God. Don't just do crusades, know God. The state in which the woman was in, I heard something in my right ear. Ask her what happened to the mother. That was the solution. She was in such pain, we couldn't tell. I asked the husband what happened to the mother. The husband said the mother is no longer alive. I said, is there anyone we can ask? He said, of course, the uncle lives within. We can get him. I said, can we get him now? He said, we can call him. To God be the glory, he was leaving work. He came straight to the crusade. I asked him, would you peradventure know? I ministered to other people. I came back to her. Would you peradventure know what happened to her, to the mother? The uncle said, well, what I know is that the mother died while giving birth to her. I said, tell me about it. When he said that, something hit that woman. And this is what the mother said. The mother was in a prolonged labor and was about to die like Rachel, and said, may none of my daughters ever go through this. You know, a woman has to go through pain to deliver. So if the mother says, may none of my daughters go through this, the mother has said, may they never have children. So this one defied what the mother said. The first sister had no children, married for 13 years, had no children. This one defied. The devil said, you'll not give birth to this. But there was a crusade. She gave birth to the baby. In the spirit realm, a baby can be 9 months, even if the mother is pregnant for 3 years. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Anything you have carried within you longer than usual, that a man said something and died, in these 60 days, we will say something and it will leave. I don't like your amen. I speak to you, anything, listen to this about the spirit world. Some of the things you may not understand. I talked to you about a brother that when the preacher prayed for him, he vomited chicken meat. He had eaten the chicken 3 years ago. The meat had dissolved. But you need to understand this life is beyond biology. If all you know is biology, you have not started life. If all you understand is medicine, you know nothing. You are illiterate. If all you understand is statistics, that is what you are threatening us with, you know nothing. There are men who plan this life. Listen, look at this. Raise your hands and say, something should come upon my life. So if a man speaks to a man says something, say, we will see. And then from that day you have seen. They didn't just speak. Words are empowered. Women are empowered. Men are empowered. Don't just say things. Jesus didn't just want them to go speaking. Jesus didn't just want them to go uttering things. Jesus said, behold, I send the promise of my Father upon you. But tarry in the city of Jerusalem. Can you give me the meaning of the word tarry? If you have a dictionary, put it there. But tarry in the city of Jerusalem until you are endued with power. Don't go till you are covered with something. A town like this, they are wicked men. You see that town where you are? There's a breakthrough you will not see until certain kinds of people begin to die. Every ministry breakthrough, someone must come down. There are men who sit on the gates of a town like this, and they have limited the growth of churches. There's a dimension that brings them down and church breaks out. I'll give you this testimony. A dear servant of God that I respect, I was once in his meeting. And out of everybody else, he picked me, said, come here, come. And I went. Out of so many people. Because God knows you. And God knows what belongs to you. In a crusade of 1 million people, God is only looking for one man. The crusade where Billy Graham got born again, he was the only soul that got born again. The preacher was discouraged to death. Said after all this labor, just one soul, because God was looking for one man. When children were dying in Egypt, one man was being looked for, Moses. When children died, when Jesus was born, and Herod slaughtered children, only one child was being looked for. But thank God they didn't find the one child. Others died in the place of that child. So this dear servant of God had a terrible man in the territory where he was doing ministry. So he would come to a certain level and he can't cross it. He will come to that level, then things will begin to happen in his ministry. He couldn't cross that level. This wicked man was literally taking babies from the wombs of women. This man of God prayed, nothing would happen. And this man would even mock him and tell him, hey, you are praying, I'm coming. You know, when a wicked man is challenging a pastor that has over 3,000 members, you should know that power is in levels. He would disorganize the church. He would throw spells on the church. Women would miscarry in the church. Then one day this guy was praying. And God told him, you have prayed. You have fasted. It's the time he did 7 months. When he was beginning the church, he did 365 days of prayer. Still, there was someone mocking his ministry. Then God told him, take everything. Please, I'm telling you this not that you may take everything you have. I'm just trying to reveal to you some of the things I do. So God told him, take everything called money that you have. You know, and at that time, the man was already going around the world. Churches all over. I think at that time, he already had over 1,000 branches. God told him, everything called money, pull it out. Go to Papa so-and-so and leave it there, and I will handle this man. The man went to see that father in an entourage. Money in sacks. Some of you have not seen money. Still counting. You know, if you want to know how broke we are and how much our faith is nonsense, look at the places where we give. Look at offering basket. Envelopes. That raise your hands, you'll be given an envelope. What kind of a God is that? That I'll be carrying 1,000 envelopes here. I have anointed these envelopes. As I give them to you. No, I don't despise. There are those who are in that level. I don't despise. But when you see the pocket of God, you'll stop those games. The day you see 10 million as a gift, you will lose faith in envelopes. I pray for those of you seated here. God is real. David Mbao, don't just follow me. Sit down. God is real. I've seen this God. I don't know if you can remember the last time I stood and say, I have these envelopes, that now that we have 60 days of remembrance, there are envelopes written 60 days of remembrance. I'm not criticizing. There's nothing wrong with it. But just see God. Because when God wants to bless you, where will you? It can't fit in an envelope. I've seen people run mad when money comes. There's something called money that God can give you. God can visit you with provision. Listen. So the man took an entourage, went to see this father of faith. He arrived. I think in the course of next year, I'll be meeting that father. Not just meeting him, I'll be preaching for him. He's a giant. So he arrived in an entourage, money in sacks. And the father asked, what do you mean with this? He said, Papa, I've battled something all my life. And I heard God telling me that I'll bring everything I have and he will show me what he wants to do. And Papa told him, kneel down. Whatever it is granted. Real great men of God don't have time for stories. So ilianzaje, my grandmother. Then I went home. Then I was praying. Then Hanyenya passed by on my head. And then I followed the Hanyenya. Then I had a dream. All those things are not necessary when you have an encounter with God. The father came from the office. He walks with a walking stick made of gold. Not because he's old, no. He's a very stylish father. He came out, he has been preaching for about 45 years. So he came out with the gold. When you see him, you see life. So he came out, said, son, what is it? And he said, Papa, go. He said, kneel down. I remove my shoes. It is granted. So they downloaded the money. And after downloading the money, while the man was about to go back, he's a great man of God. He has come to a father. When he was about to go back, he got a phone call. Papa, that man just fell now. He has died. He has vomited blood that cannot be accounted for. There are things that don't die by prayer. You can do die. That's why the misery you're seeing in the church, die. Altars don't die like that. They were not built like that. The man fell down and died. In another 3 months, the population of that ministry was bigger than the population of that town. Something broke. There are levels men don't just go to. There are places how to na online. Of amen, I receive, I tap, I take. Then when offering time comes, we don't know where you disappear to. Amen, I tap, I continue. Utajua hujui. You can hear a message that was supposed to help you today. It will help you 10 years to come when your eyes will open. That's when it will help you. I tap. Who told you tapped? I tap. I have tapped that. I've received that. Be careful. Dimensions are created. Men need to be empowered. What makes you fast for 7 months? Another man can just put his hand on you and say it is granted. So what happens if you are proud with your 7 months of fasting? Listen to this. There are men who have fasted for 7 months, and a man who has fasted for 3 months has something they don't have. It is said that in the entire ministry of Kenneth Hagin, he never fasted more than 3 days. But that man had something that generations have not recovered from. It is called a walk with God. You can fast for 21 days as a crook, as a mukora. You can fast for 21 days in your own understanding and never see God. You know, a man telling you the truth looks like a crook till you discover you are the crook. Shetani amekupatia ujanja, ukisikia tu sacrifice, umeshatoka online. Ametoka hapo. Ukisikia tu receive marriage, hey, I'm back. God is watching you. And what I love is that you cannot deceive God. This thing I'm teaching, if you don't need it today, you will need it one day. What I love about truth is that you can despise it now. You will collect it when you need it. There are things that don't just die. Listen. To tarry means to do what? To abide. There are principles you abide with. You die with. It means to abide. It means go and dwell. Not visit. Go and dwell. It means remain there. Sometimes it is not a ministry you need to change. It is your approach you need to change. Sometimes it is not a town you need to leave. It is a principle you need to change. Look at this. Dwell, remain there. Stay there. Wait. The one speaking is God. For God to tell you to wait. Who are you? He could have given it to them there. He was there. But he said, wait. Stay there. That means sleep. Stop. Sojourn. Turn that place into a lodging. He didn't say visit a service for 40 minutes. He said, stay there. Look at this. Why? Until, give me the good news translation. Shebaladi. Something will rest on you. An experience will rest on you. When I'm done with 60 days, you'll never be the same. I have never remained the same for knowing the things I know. You will never be the same. I've seen things die. You will see things die. I've seen things bow. You will see things bow. I've seen things locate my life. You will see some things locate your life. By this understanding, tarry there. There are principles to die with. Look at this. Wait in the city. Now look at this. And I myself will send upon you what my Father has promised. But you must wait. Not could. You must wait in the city until the power from above comes down upon you. So that when you move, it is not you that is moving. Men can say there is something about that guy. Something has rested on you. That is what we call your life has been empowered. It's no longer you. Can you give us Paul? It's no longer I that live. It means something has come on you. Something has rested on your ministry. People are not looking for ordinary men. They are tired of ordinary men. They are looking for something. And you need to have that something. Until power from above rests on you. You need power because people have powers. You need power. One Jaroho man looked at one preacher. One preacher came to a village with easy sarcasm. Zile vitu umesikia and you have not experienced them. Kasa kusema, the Lord, he was preaching to this guy, this old man. The Lord wants your heart. The Lord wants your soul. The old man was looking at him. The old man called the son and said, Samson, come. This one is fake. The old man said, he said, hey, blood of... He said, young man, cool down. I'm saying you are fake. If you are not fake, what is a dog's head doing in your pocket? So the man said, hey! He saw a dog's head coming from it. He said, hey! Hey! He said, Samson, I told you he's fake. The man ran away. They are powers. We went to a home, the same sin or mission. We went to a home. A university student had run mad. They had tied him with chains. You know those are our people. We put our legs behind. We put our hands like this. We clapped for 3 minutes. And a monitor came from under the bed and ran out. The guy that was in chains, I was an armor bearer. The guy that was in chains said, loosen me. What is all this? They loosened him. What tied him lived under the bed. There are powers. A brother could not marry for 18 years. Went for a Holy Communion service. Came back to his room. When he opened the door, a big bird wanted to come out. The bird left. And in 1 month, he got married. What troubles men are powers. We have been called to taste powers. Now look at this. Paul said, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live. If you are the one that is still alive, this world will destroy you. It's no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live, look at this, in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me, which means I'm living a different life. Nikiita Mungu hapa vizuri saa hii, many of you will vomit. You're not as free as you think. You know, I said it like a joke one time in a place and people were laughing. And I was teaching and they were laughing. Big crowd, they were laughing. I said, if I call on God, even those of you that were singing in the choir, you are not free. They thought it's a joke. I called on God. It began from those who are singing. We will kill you. I said, was this not the choir leader? That beautiful woman that visits you in the night and you kiss her and lick her and wake up in the morning is the reason you are broke. You have been paying her bills without knowing. They are powers. I prayed with the minister of God that used to wet the bed. He will dream he's preaching, then he feels like he wants to go for a short call. In the dream. Then a man of God. And anytime he urinates on the bed, he loses members. Powers. Jayalo layo. Ipiende. You're supposed to be Jayalo, now you are Jalayo. The devil has complicated your life. I don't know if we should pray tonight. Oh. Jehovah, do something tonight. There's an experience you need. Look at this. So, why am I talking like that? We go back to that wicked prophet. He was a prophet of God. Because I want to drop a few things. He was called Balaam. The man who invited him is called Balak. Balak had this understanding that you cannot deal with Israel just like that. And what was on Israel that made it impossible for Balaam to curse them? Even when, now this was the war of a curse and the blessing. I want to just go a little bit deep on it and show you how blessings require a sacrifice. And how you can't fight a man whose foundation was laid with a sacrifice, even if you build 7 altars. I want to show you what backed Israel. That Balak the king said, since you couldn't cast them from this position, let's change position. Try from this position. And Balaam told him, whatever God tells me to say is what I will say. I can't cast them. You know why? That blessing that you see on Israel, until today, many don't know how it came. Its foundation was a sacrifice. Then you are yapping with it on Facebook. Don't teach us about curse. You can't curse whom the Lord has blessed. Who blessed you? That I'm born again. Nobody can curse me. And the wizard in your village has stopped your financial prosperity. And you're talking like that. I've seen pastors who are under the influence of a certain curse. I've gone to ministries where a spirit is seated in the atmosphere. When the man of God preaches, that spirit interprets the message negatively. And people leave. Don't joke with ministry. You can preach a good message. From there to here, something hits it and changes it. There's a grace you carry that even if you speak a mistake, something twists and changes it. You preach a weak message and you look at the response and people tell you, I've never heard that, because it was not you preaching. Something takes what you say and turns it. There are things some men can say, you say them. You'll see trouble. because something changes their words. There's an empowerment on what they say. When the president says curfew is ending by 11, he doesn't shout. He doesn't drink water. He doesn't say naongea. Sasa nasema kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, sada curfew inaisha. You know why we do that? It's because we don't know what we are saying. Somebody woke up and said all the buses should be painted yellow. Run a school with the blue bus we see. Those are men who die. When God empowers you, when God empowers you, you know why the man is talking like that? He's empowered by something called the Constitution. The day he leaves office, he cannot talk like that. I wish you knew you are in an office where you cannot be removed. Backed up by superior constitution. Why would you say things another preacher said and you get into trouble for it? And the man gets free with it. I know a man of God. I never met him face to face. But he was communicated to me by my fathers. He was called Oking Kambara. One time he met a woman with a dead child. The woman was going to the clinic, the child died. So the woman was mourning, carrying the baby. He said, give me the baby, mama. He threw the baby towards heaven. He said, Lord, since now you enjoy eating dead babies, eat this one. The baby went up. When the baby landed, came back to life. You today, go to the mortuary, take a dead baby. Tell God that. Tell God that. Wachara came to a burial, the burial of Getrudo Wing. It's good to talk about tangible things, real things. So he came to the burial, and somebody said Wachara is in the burial. Another man said they were preparing, those cooking, preparing to bury. The woman's nose is in the jeneza. Just a few minutes they lower her into the grave. He had come from prayer. He said the man of God is around. We'll give him a few minutes to greet people before we lower the woman into the grave. When he stood up, he said, this woman lying in that casket knows the weight of grace that is on my life. People said, we told you don't give this man a microphone. You see what he's begun to say. Said that woman lying down there knows the weight of grace that I carry. And this is what he's saying. Get rid of you. Amalo. Say the first time, the second time, the third time, the casket began to shake. The priest did not wait. Nobody waited. We pray for miracles before we see one. Said, when people took off, he went there, broke into the casket, began to pull the dead woman out. Said, come and help me. She's back. She's alive. Come. Pull out of the casket. Remove the cotton. Put her down. You can't die. You know the God I serve. That is the woman who educated his son in the university. Wachara says in a meeting, this is what he's saying. You preachers that don't see the supernatural, you'll eat your mothers. It looks like an insult, but he's telling you his depth. You go and say that on radio. You'll be stopped. Those words are empowered. May God twist your mouth. May something fall on your mouth. May something come upon your life. By this revelation, may something change about your life. Can I hear an amen? Now look at this. So listen. So Balaam, the prophet, said, I cannot cast them because God has blessed them. Two forces. The force of a curse and the force of a blessing. They are both spoken, but they are empowered by a sacrifice. Now let's look at in a nutshell what a curse is and what a blessing is. And I want to show you there are patterns you are seeing in your life, in your family, in your business, with some of the things you are going through that will not go because you are praying. They'll not live because you prayed. Sacrifice changes patterns. There's a pattern that must change in your life when you leave this place. There is a way things have been happening. When you get to a certain level, bam. When you get to a certain level, bam. When you get to a certain level, bam. We need to shift that trend. It is shifted by sacrifice. I had asked God that I spend very little time today so that tomorrow we can spend some time to pray. Is it true that it is 39 minutes past 7? It's a lie. Now listen. Numbers 23. But let's go around Numbers 22 there. No, Numbers 23. If you're there, say amen. I don't know that to only take verse 13. Then Balak said to him, please come with me to another place from which you may see them. You shall see only the outer part of them and shall not see them all. Cast them for me from there. So he brought him to the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah, and built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. And he said to Balak, stand here by your burnt offering while I meet the Lord over there. Then the Lord met Balaam and put a word in his mouth and said, go back to Balak, and thus you shall speak. So he came to him, and there he was, verse 17, standing by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab were with him. And Balak said to him, what has the Lord spoken? Then he took up his oracle and said, rise up, Balak, and hear. Listen to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not make it good? Behold, I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. Verse 20. Look at verse number 21. What a hired prophet that came all the way said. He has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt. He has strength like a wild ox. For there is no sorcery against Jacob, nor is there any divination against Israel. It now must be said of Jacob and of Israel, oh, what God has done. Verse 24. Look, a people rises like lioness and lifts itself up like a lion. It shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. Verse number 25. Then Balak said to Balaam, neither cast them at all, nor bless them at all. Don't cast them, don't bless them. Leave them in between. It doesn't happen. You are either blessed or cast. Look at this. So Balaam answered and said to Balak, did I not tell you, saying, all that the Lord speaks that I must do? Then Balak said to Balaam, please come, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God that you may cast them for me there. So Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, that overlooks the wasteland. 29. Then Balaam said to Balak, build for me here 7 altars, and prepare for me here 7 bulls and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam has said, and offered a bull and a ram on every altar. The thing is this, it was impossible. All the sacrifices they offered could not bring a curse on Israel. You know why? Genesis 27. Israel has become a people. They have settled on the land. The king of Moab is afraid. They are coming from Egypt. He has called a prophet to cast them. They have offered sacrifice upon sacrifice upon sacrifice because Balaam knew if what I'm going to say is going to happen, bring sacrifices. But there was a sacrifice that was laid before that ensured that what was going to happen now cannot succeed. The curse needed a sacrifice, but the blessing that was on Israel was not for free. It was initiated on the grounds of a sacrifice. Look at this. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, that he told that he could not see, that he called Esau his older son and said to him, my son, and he answered him, here I am. Then he said, behold, now I am old, I do not know the day of my death. Verse number 3. Now therefore please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. Verse number 4. And make me savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless. You see that thing? That word blessing. It didn't come on Esau. It came on Jacob. That is what 7 altars could not overcome. That thing. The altars that Balaam and Balak built could not prevail because the blessing that was on Israel had its root in a sacrifice. You that your mother is living in a leaking house, stop shouting that I am blessed, I cannot be cast. You have no covering. You that has been fighting 21 pastors, you can't even tell us where you came from. You think you can speak like that? Oh. Let's go to verse 27. I want to show you 7 things that were on Israel that ensured you cannot cast them. And these 7 things were initiated on the grounds of a sacrifice. Go to verse 25, then we begin to go down. Today, I want to finish quickly. I am under a mandate to finish quickly. Look at this. He said, of course he thought he's telling Esau, but he's telling Jacob. He said, bring it near to me, and I will eat it. I'll eat my son's game, so that my soul may bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Who has taken your wine? That's a question for another day. Then his father, Isaac, said to him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his clothing and blessed him. And said, he didn't say, then blessed him. He blessed him. Then he said, the blessing was bigger than words. He blessed him. Then he said, this is what he said. Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. Number 2 is this. Therefore, may God give you of the dew of heaven. That is number 2. Of the fatness of the earth. That is number 3. Plenty of grain and wine. That is number 4. Let people serve you. That is number 5. And nations bow down before you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Now, that is number 6. Number 7 is this. I know why I'm counting them like that. Don't worry. You can't get it. No matter how much you sit under me, there are things I'll teach and I'll go back with. You can't carry them because you are not yet there. I know you are trying to wonder, how did it happen? Even if you go back to Facebook Live, you'll not get what I said. There are things you can't get. Somebody told me, man of God, I have your 10 books. I'm planning to buy more. I said, you don't need all of them. You need the one that was written for you. And sit with it for 10 years. After 10 years, you may get 35% of what was in it. Now look at this. On the grounds of that sacrifice, this is what the father said. Let people serve you. And not just a nation, nations. So there's no nation called Moab that can rise against you. It was in their DNA. It was established by a sacrifice. Don't claim what a man built by sacrifice. You can't claim sacrifice. You can only offer sacrifice. Look at this. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. That is a whole one thing. Now look at this. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone that blesses you. That thing fell on Israel. So there are two things: the blessing and the curse. All of them are products of a sacrifice. Even your own mother, your own father cannot bless you for free. Never. It is only our generation. Even Paul did not say, my God will supply, before he saw their sacrifices. Whoever is teaching you against a sacrifice is killing you. Whoever is pampering you in stinginess is your greatest demon. Whoever is massaging your ego in a life of stinginess has finished you. So by the sacrifice that Jacob brought to the father, a sevenfold blessing rested on him. And listen to this: when you are blessed, your children are blessed. When you are cursed, your generation is cursed. Jacob was already dead. He died in Egypt. Right? At this point, they were carrying, now, I think they were carrying the bones of Joseph. Joseph said, carry my bones. Now they were living, so they must have been having the bones of Joseph. Jacob, Joseph, that generation was already dead. But because the blessing was established on a sacrifice, it cannot die. That's why today we have the fourth president of the Republic of Kenya. Isn't it the fourth president? We have the fourth president with the name Kenyatta. The first president had the name Kenyatta. There are things that don't die, they're in the blood. We had a vice president in this country with the name Odinga. The name Odinga has not died. You can stone it, you can hate it, you can criticize it. It is alive because they are what we call spiritual principles. You, that your grandmother was doing dodo, nobody served God in your family. And you are a Christian mareprep, the way you are. And you have joined a group of other confused Christians who are talking against sacrifices. You have a long way to go. There was a John Austin. There is now a Joel Austin. He doesn't shout. Look at the stadium. Sacrifice is speaking. There was a George Bush one. There was a George Bush two. I hear there is a third one being groomed. Because principles don't die. There was a Laurent Kabila. There was a Joseph Kabila. I hear there is another one in the pipeline. Principles don't die. President Museveni's son is an army general. Now, as we are talking. Continue throwing stones. While your children are watching cartoons and you are giving 10 bob. And you are shouting, I am blessed. My generation is blessed. We shall prosper. You see the way you are behaving? No problem, continue. Continue. I didn't tell you to stop, continue. You are doing great. Very soon they'll start serving God. It was the sacrifice of Hannah that called Samuel into the ministry against his will. God, listen, the boy did not yet know God when God came for him. He didn't come from a priestly lineage. The father had 2 wives, but one of the wives tied the child to a covenant. The day she brought the child to church, what she carried, she knew that children are not brought to God using 100 bob. Then we begin to pray, my father, open the door for him. Harvard University is waiting. A child you dedicated with 10 bob. Now you are trying to force God to take him to Harvard. Continue. The reason your prayers are many and answers are few is because you are an empty-tongued and mouthed believer. You believe Jesus already paid it all for you. And you are doing great. But let me tell you, this thing cannot stop. Things are decided. When God came for Samuel, he didn't tell Samuel, your father has 2 wives. Samuel, I Don't stomach the sacrifices of your mother. There are some of you, you are going to enter a dangerous giving dimension. That your wicked daughter will not know when she begins to sing and pray. That your wicked son is at the mercy of your sacrifice. Don't be an empty tongue believer. You can turn things around. I have had wicked people. I've seen God change them. But God doesn't work with zero. A woman transacted with the altar in a way that God could not avoid to call the son. This guy is seated in the keyboard because the mother sings. The father plays the guitar, this guy. So there's nothing that is by accident. Your father sang when he's drunk. That was your father. No wonder you are behaving the same and you are born again. The only place where you get leadership is in a funeral. You are the WhatsApp administrator of a funeral committee. Those are the only promotions you have. I pray for you in the name that is above every name. It may sound funny, but there is something about a sacrifice. Now listen, the sacrifice that was laid on Jacob, when Balaam and Balak built altars, it was impossible. Their lives that are protected. There are men who have done things that have empowered them. You can't cast them. You hate them, but you can't cast them. They are blessed. Somebody say the blessing. Now say a curse. Allow me to close now. Did you get something? That me and my children, we are for signs. It is Abraham that said that. Stop stealing things that you are not qualified for. What is in this Bible is not for every Christian. Some things here are not promises. Some things here are covenants that you must enter and practice to become. No matter the pledge a man will ever give me, even if it is 1 billion, if he has not brought it, I cannot call him. Pastor, what if he changes his mind? I know God better. These people are here. They'll tell you. Sometimes what people feel they are moved to give. And it is a Monday. And I say, tell him to come the 3rd week on a Saturday. The things you hold on to too much probably are not yours. That before I see members so and so, I can't preach. You have not started ministry. There is a place God brought me to that is very dangerous. I pray God doesn't bring all of you there. God killed my faith in people. Me, awe billionaire, awe multi-billionaire, awe nani, na waonanga to the same. There were times they used to move me. I died. No matter who calls and says, man of God, I'm bringing you 10 million. So tell me, when do you want me to bring it? You'll wait a long time. Man of God, 10 million. Vitu zingine hacha kiburi. Sio kiburi. Shida ni roho ilikufa. Goro ilikufa. Goro ilikufa. Pastor, if there's a revelation you live here with, is that you are God's property. And if you are in his will, you are his bill. That thing, the rate at which that thing has penetrated me, I can tell you confidently as I stand here, I live by my giving. I don't live by my members. I repeat it again. I live by my giving. There's no one that will ever miss a service that will make me have a running stomach. If I come and 3 showed up, I'll preach like a dying man. Because I live by my giving. I don't live by the people I know. God killed my faith in the arm of the flesh. If it is meeting people, I have met people. Back those days when there was a particular cast that was on my life as a preacher. I met, this man is not a millionaire, he's a billionaire. We didn't have food on a Christmas day. We wrote them. They said, anytime man of God. So we wrote them. They were living in Karen. He said, let's meet in town. I went to town. They brought the remains of the food they ate for Christmas. Remaining ugali, remaining meat, remaining vegetables were put in a paper bag. I carried like a dog. We ate with my wife and the children. You can be anointed and eat like a dog if you don't break some things. One time I had a meeting with God. And God told me this. By the time I flow through you to affect others, if you made use of what you carry, you'll be very far. I said, what? He said, the same things you are preaching to people, I want you to leave them. And you'll see the results of them in your life. There are stories I don't want to get into. Because I'm always like that. So I don't want to go back into that story of that man. Listen. Pastor, those guys were rich, very rich. They are still very rich. Thank God Mama is not in, but she's listening. So, less than a month ago, the wife of the man came to Mama's office in Karen. She was looking for something, and she was advised everywhere. That's where you can find it. She was coming not knowing where she's coming to. Came in, waited in the bench. Then her time came to see Mama. Mama came out and talked to her. She didn't know who she's talking to. Then I was in the office. It was a Saturday. I walked out. So Mama saw her. When I walked out, something told me, this looks like so-and-so. But I ignored. I just went. So Mama asked her, do you know me? He said, I've heard so much about you, and I was told I can find that thing here, and forgive me, I really know I didn't. Mama said, do you remember me? He said, no. Mama said, do you remember that man that walked out? She said, no. Mama mentioned the name. He said, well, we knew a preacher like that some years ago, but we don't know where he went to, something like that. What is it about him? Mama said, he's the man. I am the wife. There's no man worth begging. If you can beg from God long enough, the time you normally spend begging people, you will spend it investing what God has given you. I don't know if you got that. When you beg from people, you praise them. You tell them, unajua wewe tusipokuona kanisani, ibada haikuangi kawaida. Kwanza ile suti mlinunulia nilivaa jana. Vile ibada ilikuwa moto. A pastor is talking. Heaven is watching you. You know how a beggar begs with everything? God has taught me how to beg from him. Their prayers, I cannot pray here. Their prayers I pray alone far away. Because it is my begging time. I beg him to take my sacrifices. I beg him not to allow me eat in a polythene bag again. Listen. Sacrifice can take you from the backside in a short time to a place you never dreamt all your life. I pray for some of you that those who dropped you will apologize. That those who said you can never ever move without them will apologize. There's a place sacrifice will bring you to that men will realize is a privilege to meet you. It's not a curse to meet you. Poverty can make men look at meeting you like a curse. When a billionaire gives you polythene bag and remaining ugali, he's looking at you like a curse. When the same man confesses he doesn't know you again, sacrifice is good. No matter how bad giving is, no matter how angry men get about giving, I can't stop. Not only to tell you to give, I can't stop giving. Because I've seen it in my life. I've seen the shame that giving can turn around. I've seen the altars where I leaked remains. I've gone back to build them. One time I was praying, and a man had come to ask me to give him some money. When I came out and my pastor said, so-and-so was here, I remembered how that man treated me. I said, sacrifice is good. If you don't become a man of sacrifice, where your father begged, you'll beg there. Where your grandfather begged, you'll beg there. It is bad for the same man who humiliated your father to humiliate you and humiliate your children tomorrow. There is a thing called sacrifice that turns the hand of a generation, that turns things to begin happening in your favor. Listen, it was based on a sacrifice. 7 things. I didn't have time to explain to you what a curse is and how a blessing counteracts a curse and how both of them are rooted in sacrifice. The man that was troubling that pastor and destroying the church and the ministry, it is his level of sacrifice that was higher than that pastor. The day the man took a sacrifice higher than the wicked man died. In the realm of the spirit, the man whose sacrifice is great carries the day. I pray for you. May begging end tonight. I pray for you. May shame check out of your life tonight. I pray for you. What has made men look at your ministry like you are a beggar? What has made you follow people? What has made you become a servant of people? Put your faith and hope in a man. God says, cursed is a man that depends on men. Blessed is the man whose God is Jehovah. There are things you kill that your faith remains in God. I have given so much to beg from a man. I have given so much. I repeat the scripture of David. Put it there that even when I'm old, don't leave me. Put it there. When I am old and gray, don't leave me. David said, I was young. Now I'm an old man. I've never seen a righteous man forsaken. And I've never seen his children begging for bread. Ladies and gentlemen, we must mean business with our Christianity. We must get out of treating God as a donation center. We must give our lives in reality. We must ask the question, this God I am serving, can he have the best thing I have? If he cannot, you are following an idol. A God that cannot wipe your accounts is an idol. A God that cannot take your Isaac is an idol. Many of us, God is an idea, is a theory, is a story. When he says, give me your that cannot be God. That it can be God. This is what Job said. We have received good things from God. Now that bad things are happening, you tell me to curse God. That man had given God his life. There are things that don't just happen. These 60 days, I pray that God will visit you. Amen. I pray that you will not treat the gospel like a shame center where you throw what you don't need. I pray that God will change your revelation of who he is. I pray that you'll handle God with the dignity that has never been seen. I pray that you will give to God things that will shock your generation. You've watched my life as an example. I can't give God what I don't need. I mean business with God. God is my life. As a minister, pastor, if God has not become more real to you than the people you are pastoring, they'll embarrass you one day. They don't like you. People don't come to church because they like you. They don't like you. That's why when you buy a Mercedes, they leave the church. Because they are not there for you to prosper. You must know God more than the people you are pastoring. Because these people are not your friends. Men flock around a friend of God, not a friend of people. When you have something between you and God, men want to come around you. Galatians chapter 1. Now, let's look at this. Then we go to Galatians chapter 1. I close the meeting. Look at this. Now also, when I am old and gray-headed, take that as a personal promise. Oh God, do not forsake me until I declare your strength to this generation, your power to everyone who is to come. Lord, even when I'm old, don't let me be prosperous as a young man. Then in my old age, I become a begging preacher. Begging men I raised in ministry, telling them, remember, give me somewhere to preach. Have a walk with God that will make you relevant when you are gray-headed. They will still be flying from across the nations, coming that you lay hands on them. Have a walk with God. Billy Graham finished well. Maurice Cerullo finished well. They didn't finish as beggars. Mean business with God. If I tell you a bit about Maurice Cerullo, you'll be shocked. Those things never just happened. Mean business with God. If God, a God that cannot have your best is an idol. A God you give 100 when you have 10,000 is an idol. It's not God. If I share with you my personal giving, you'll be shocked. I believe the things I teach to the core. Galatians chapter 1 verse 10. I don't know, 112, 110 or 112, whichever. Let's begin with 110. Listen, I came to give you marching orders. Know God beyond your employer. Know God beyond the systems of this earth. Allow God brainwash you that he may brighten your life. Let God confuse you. Let God take your life. This is not about your car. This is not about your house. This is not about your money. This is about your heart. Let God have you. Look at this. Paul said, for do I now persuade men or God? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. And I was telling you that, Pastor, till this becomes real in your life, there are things you can't have. There are things you can't have. It's not easy to get there. But I can tell you with confidence, I am there. I am there. Let God be real to you more than men. I'm not only talking about things. Let God. Abraham, now I know that you fear me. Now I know that I have a relationship with you. Why? I asked you for what is hard to give, and you are willing to kill it. Now I know. Good News Translation. You know, we need to do this song better on Sunday. For your glory. There are songs that minister to me. For your glory, I will do anything. If giving makes a man a fool, let me be foolish. Because if I look at where I've come from to where I am today, there's only one thing I see. If God never taught me giving and sacrifice, I wouldn't be here. Look at this. Does this sound as if I'm trying to win human approval? No, instead, what I want is God's approval. Am I trying to be popular with people? If I was still trying to do so, I would not be a servant of Christ. Preaching messages that make people happy so that they don't get offended and leave church. We want to keep them. And we go to seminars and we are taught 12 things that will keep your leaders so that they don't leave church. There's nothing that you can be taught that can stop Judas from betraying you. It's a process. There's nothing you can teach that now I want to teach you how to have members who don't leave church. Even political parties are left. The first church that broke up was in heaven. And there was war in heaven. So if there's war in your ministry, it's no more. And a man preached to a third of God's members and left with them. But it didn't affect God. I'll start attending choir practices. Because at this juncture I could have said, for your glory, I will do anything. Anything. Some people, for their self-interest, they can do some things. I want us to give. The church project is on. The work has begun. I want us to give to God tonight. I want you to take a sacrifice in your hands. Those of you in the media world, the details are there. I will not tell you what to give, but I want you to give something that is uncomfortable. If you don't believe in giving, but you believed everything I said, well and good. Tutakutana mbele some other time. But I want you to take what is uncomfortable tonight and hold it in your hands. La, we give you praise. We give you glory. Empower my words. Empower my life. Don't leave me an ordinary man. Tonight is not a donation night. It's not a contribution night. It may be one man that God has reached out to. It may be one man that God wants to change his life. It may be one man out of the thousands that are listening. Take something uncomfortable. The details are there. I don't know what it is you are giving to God. It is between you and God. Father, empower my life. Teach me how to live an empowered life together with my generation, together with my children, together with my family, together with all I am and all I have. Teach me. Teach me that these men and women you have allowed to follow me, that when I'm done with their lives, they'll become a manifestation of sacrifice wherever they go. Lord, teach me. I didn't come to preach to any man. I came to preach to me. Make me a man of sacrifice. Take me to deeper levels. Save me from the shame of looking at the gospel as a tool of trade, as something that is not worth my best. One day when I sleep, naked I came, and naked I will go. When I sleep one day, and I see you face to face, may I hear you say, enter your rest, well done, my faithful servant. I never asked you for anything you didn't give me. You propagated the gospel. You made my work flourish by your sacrificial giving. I bless the ones in the house I bless the ones in the media world. I bless them. I decree as they sacrifice, Lord, respond. As is always our culture, I don't know what you need God to do. After you do your giving, copy the transaction and forward it to the WhatsApp number that is there on the screen. And let's believe God. This is our second week of 60 days of prayer and fasting. We have a long way to go. And I'm teaching on the war of sacrifice. Bye-bye, those of you in the media. Those of us in the house, stand up on your feet.